Good morning, church. As you can see, you're coming in from my basement. It is decked out in all sorts of Chiefs paraphernalia. I was accused I wasn't accused. A couple of weeks ago, we had someone tell us that they've never met someone quite so fanatical about the Chiefs and the fans as our family, and I thought maybe that was maybe not true. And then as I kind of evaluated some of my life stuff, I went, yeah, that's probably a problem. In fact, we actually went to the game last night. Very, very cold, but we won, so that's pretty cool. It was worth it. And not the least of the reason that I went to the game was because I wanted to be able to say, I win. Yeah, they said it was dangerous, and they said you shouldn't go or be very, very careful. And my wife, true story, my wife actually told me before we left, she goes, Andrew, I don't think you should go. And she should know better than this by now, but if you tell me not to go, you might as well say, I double dog dare you, if you remember the old Christmas story, because I was like, well, now I have to go. I have to prove to you that I'm stronger than whatever fear you have. So this morning, should have been last week, but I was gone on a business trip last week, and so the sermon a little late, but very much the same thing. We are going to finish up our Christmas season, and it's cold enough outside. I think you could argue that the weather outside is frightful, but the sermon this morning is out of Matthew chapter 2. And if you guys would open up your scriptures if you want, or I'll read it here. But Matthew chapter 2, we're talking specifically about the wise men. And this is what the scripture says. Now, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east, and have come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests, the scribes of the people together, he inquired of them where Christ was to be born. So they said to him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet, But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judea, are not the least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you shall come a ruler, who will shepherd my people Israel. Then Herod, who had secretly called the wise men, determined from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, Go and search carefully for the young child, and when you found him, bring back word to me, that I may come and worship him also. When they heard the king, they departed, and behold, the star, which had been seen in the east, went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And when they had come into the house, they saw the young child and Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented gifts to him, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Then, being divinely warned in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed for their own country another way. As is our custom, let's go ahead and pray over the scripture that we've just read. Father God, again, we come before you. Lord, just help us to understand these words of your scripture. Help us to not be some fairy tale of wise men from long ago, but these were people, for whatever reason, who sought you out, who altered their life to go and find your son. Father, help us to drive through all the truth of that we can this morning. Father, I pray. Amen. So when we look at this scripture this morning, we're looking at the journey. And the journey that these men took from the east. We don't know much about the wise men. We really don't. There's a couple of details that we can certainly gather from the context of the scripture. First, it's almost sure that Jesus, as a baby in the manger, did not meet the wise men, and there's a couple reasons we know that. First, and on the day he was presented to the temple, that they had offered only the turtle doves, and the reason that they would offer turtle doves is that was an appropriate offering if you didn't have money. If you're really in poverty, you would offer that. And if Mary and Joseph are so good in their faith, which they are strong Jewish, they are going to raise Jesus in very much in the Jewish custom. I think if they had just been given some gold or some very expensive spices and fragrances, that they would have traded that off and would have gotten a more appropriate offering. The second reason I think that this did not happen on the day of the nativity that we would typically think of is because when Herod gets word, he says, "I want to kill all the children, all the boys 2 years and under." And so we have this murder of the innocents, and we know all this. And so knowing Herod, he's very unstable. I'm going to suppose that the baby Jesus is probably more of a young toddler, maybe 9 months to a year-ish old. And again, this is 100% conjecture on that age. But it would make sense that Herod in his overreaction would take that age, double it, and say, we're going to kill them all. We are going to be at a very high degree of confidence that we eliminate my potential rival. And that's how Herod was very unstable, and we can see that all through history where Herod just does a lot of stuff that just isn't very honorable at all. So anyway, so we got these wise men, and they're coming out, and when they're coming from these, again, we don't know anything about them. We have no concept. What we do know is that they were astronomers. So were they from Babylon? We just don't know. And any conjecture there, it's just that. It's just conjecture. But what we do know is that for whatever reason, they had their eyes looking in the stars. They were looking for the future, for something. They were looking for a sign. And they got a sign, and their sign was a star they had never seen before. Now, the sign that they had never seen before, the star, and they were so dedicated behind this sign that they said, we're packing up and we're going. And this is not a small journey. I mean, we're talking probably minimum of a 6-month journey for them to get there, and quite possibly longer. I mean, we're talking, this is a caravan. There's going to be way more than 3. The reason you get the 3 wise men is because of the gifts, the gold, frankincense, and myrrh. But it would have been kind of almost like a small traveling village, so to speak. I mean, you would have had the men themselves, the leaders. They would have had servants, and then some peripherals and whatnot. And so this is going to be a pretty large traveling party, and you would have to have a decent sized traveling party just to protect yourself from all the hazards of the road, all the thieves and stuff like that. So we have this travel. So this isn't like just, again, me last night taking my boys and a friend of ours and going up to the Chiefs game. This is a huge endeavor that really shows you their dedication to this star that they're following. They don't even know what they're following. They think this is just another monarch. But obviously a very important monarch, because he has a star. Like the heavens have altered their appearance because of this king, and so they're going to come and give him their due worship because they see that the heavens did did the same. And it just reminds me in the book of Romans where the scripture says, even in our day today, where it says that God's word is wrote in the invisible. In all of creation, we can see God's glory. And I 100% believe that. I've had some this last year, I've done a decent amount of traveling. I was able to take the family on kind of our dream vacation. We went to Hawaii, and everywhere you looked in Hawaii, it was, we saw huge, beautiful rainbows and mountains, and of course the beach and the beautiful sunsets. And when we were on the west side, and you could not see it. We went snorkeling, and as you go down into the water and you snorkel, and you just see the brilliant colors of the coral and all these fish that I couldn't identify. Jacob was kind of my snorkeling buddy, and he would come up and go, "Hey Dad, what was that one?" And I would go, "The blue one," or Nemo, or whatever, flounder from Little Mermaid. I don't know. I didn't know what any of these fish were because they were so. I just never seen them before. The only one that I had ever seen was a fish called a sheep's head, which the first time I saw it, I called it a zebra fish because it kind of has white and black vertical stripes like a zebra. And so I said, that's a zebra fish. And then for some reason it was called a sheep's head, and I never did understand the sheep part of that. But anyway, everywhere I looked, it was like, man, this is the beauty of an almighty God. How can you not see that? And so when I look at these wise men and they see the star change, what I see is them saying, the heavens have altered themselves. We better go figure out what made them alter. And so they start this path. They start this journey. And their journey is going to take them, for whatever reason, and this is what's kind of neat as we read this story, but they are able to follow the star. They follow the star, and they see that the star is getting them into the land of Israel, and specifically, they gets them to Jerusalem. Now, we don't know what happens with the star. It would appear that the star quits shining. Something happens with the star because they get to Jerusalem, they get to Israel, and they go to Jerusalem. They go to King Herod because, hey, if you're going to go meet the king, you should probably start in the palace. You should probably start where a king would reside. And so they go to Herod, and there's another argument here that they would have went to King Herod, because if you're a visiting group of people, you don't go into another country without addressing the president. The king. You got to let him know that you're there. There's probably some truth to that, but I think the reason I think the star went away is because when they leave Herod's company, it says that they are excited that the star came back. In verse 10 it says, when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And that's why I think it had disappeared for some reason, that they got into Israel, they were able to go to Jerusalem, that's where you would go to meet the king, and then the star was gone, and they're like, well, the king wasn't here in the temple or in the palace, and I'm sorry, the palace, the king would have been in the palace. He's not here, so where do we, what do we do? And they have this conversation with Herod, and you can see where Herod brings his people up and says it's going to be in Bethlehem, and you can see that the again, God's perfection. The entire Old Testament points to who Jesus is, and specifically where he will come, and they know that he'll be in Bethlehem, in the city of David. And so the Jewish scholars knew this, and they're the ones who tell him, well, this is where he's going to be. He's going to be in Bethlehem. And so the wise men are like, okay, sure. We'll be in contact, kind of have your fingers crossed behind your back there, so to speak. I don't know that. I don't know that when they left, obviously after they met with Jesus, they were divinely told in a dream, do not go back to Herod. So maybe when they left Herod's, they were going to be like, I guess he wants us to go find the king. Well, it seems like he should want to know where the king was. But anyway, they come back, and as they go, as they come out, they are super excited because boom, there's a star. And so again, they follow that star. They are altering their life in pursuit of something they have no idea what it is. And that's kind of one of my jumping off points this morning that I really want us to focus on. Have you been so convicted that you're willing to alter your life? I ask this question a lot, and I don't want to be, I don't want to beat a dead horse and stuff, but I definitely want you to examine your heart, and I really want you to look at it and say, what have I changed in my life because I love Jesus so much? What's the evidence of that? Again, there is evidence all around me of my Chiefs fandom. Like, so much so that people might start kind of wondering if there's some loose screws in my head. And that's a very valid point. I mean, I went to the game last night. It was -2 degrees at kickoff. My face mask that I was wearing for I normally wear it for hunting, it just from my breath and the humidity of my breath, it was frozen. Like it was rubbing my nose because it hurt so bad. Like there's clear evidence of my chiefdom that I was gonna go to the game because I'm an opportunistic buyer. If the tickets get that cheap, I'm like, I gotta go because it's expensive and I don't get to go very often because I'm going to change that part of my life. I'm gonna be in church on Sunday. So if the game's at 3 o'clock or noon on Sunday, I'm not going. I'm going to be in church because I want to be with my fellowship of believers. I love our church at Oakland. And I mean, you are my family, and I want to be there as part of our family. And I also want to be very honorable and obedient to God's command and not forsake the assembly. So there's change. There's clear evidence. With these magi, with the wise men, there's a clear alteration of behavior. They're going to go because of what they've seen. Now, we don't have to have our eyes looking at star charts. I'm not going to lie. The most I pay attention to the sky at night, especially, is occasionally I'll be lucky enough to see the satellite, the Starlink satellite train. It's actually really cool when you get to see it, and occasionally I'll even Google, when is it going to come, and it'll tell me it'll be at 9:30 or 10 or whatever, and I might watch it or tell the boys, and we'll come out and watch it. If it's at like 2 a.m, yeah, I'm gonna stay asleep. It's not that cool. Sorry, Mr. Musk. It's not that cool to wake up for. But if I'm out and I'm about, I want to go look at that. That is actually pretty neat. But we don't have to sit there and look at the stars. I mean, all of creation, we have already talked about that. All of creation shows God's beauty and wonder. And the other thing I think all of creation shows is man's depravity. Everywhere I go, I see people in bad positions, some of it because of what they've done to themselves, some of it because of maybe some sickness or illness that had occurred to them. But I see that humans are pretty bad, that they're depraved. They are in need of a savior. I see that everywhere. That is also, in my opinion, 100% wrote on nature. That God is perfect and all his creation is perfect, that humans are absolutely not perfect. And so I can see both those lines in nature. And when I put them together through the lens of the Bible, I see that no. God in his perfection says, I love my creation, my humans who are totally messed up and turned and have fallen away, so much so that they can't come back. So and I know that they can't come back. So I'm going to make a way for them to come back. That God says, I will reach down and I'm going to drag them across to my side if I have to. And he sends his son, and his son, of course, we know this is Jesus, and he's looking at each and every one of us saying, listen, come, be with me, be my follower, believe in me, because in my Father's house is many mansions, and I want to give, or many rooms, depending on your translation, but I want you to be with me in my Father's house for an eternity. I'm reaching out to make that platform, that pathway for you. And I think there's a lot of people who go, yeah, I believe that. I think there's a lot of people who go, yeah, I'm a Christian. I hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. I'm a Christian. And then I say, oh, that's great. I'm not here to cast stones or to judge. What I am going to do is just ask you some basic follow-up questions. If you say you're a Christian, I'm saying, oh, that's wonderful. Do you go to church anywhere? Do you have to go to church to be a Christian? Absolutely not. But what I'm saying is that we should alter our life based on that conviction. And if our life doesn't alter, then how can we say that we have that conviction? There's going to become a day when we're going to stand before the King of Kings, the God Almighty. And he's going to say, depart from me, I never knew you. Or come on in, my son. We are adopted children of the Most High God. That should change our behavior. That should change how we are. This is a journey. This whole life that we're on, it is a journey. Now, again, I was able to do a work trip. I had to be in Fresno, and I took the boys and my wife, and yes, we did get tickets to the Chiefs game at the Chargers Stadium, and I ended up streaming a service last week, Sunday morning, because I just wasn't real comfortable in LA, and that's actually probably a fault of mine. I probably should have done that, but I'm a boy from Tipton, Missouri. We got 2,000 people in my town, actually 3,000, but half of those are locked up, so it's kind of hard to tell how many aren't, whatever. But the fact of the matter is, I was intimidated. I was scared. So I took part in a virtual a virtual service. But one of the things that we did on Saturday, we were supposed to go and see the Sequoia National Forest. My son wanted to go see these wonderful sequoia trees. And I said, well, I don't know if I'll ever be back. And I brought my son, so let's go check this out. Well, at 4:30 on Friday, I got a weather alert that said up in the mountains a winter storm was happening, and they were going to close the road that gets you to the Sequoia National Forest at 9 o'clock in the morning Saturday. So I said, James, I'm sorry, we can't go to see the trees. We can't make it. They're going to close the road on us. And James kind of looked a little bad, and I said, that's fine. We're doing it right now. And my wife looked at me and goes, right, you mean right now? And I said, you bet, we're doing it right now. And we had to go to a Walmart and buy chains because there's some chain restrictions on the vehicle. I had a four-wheel drive vehicle, but they still have to have chain restrictions. And we said, we're going. And we drove up there, and we get to the sequoia trees at about 6:30 at night, which is dark this time of year, also in California. And you can see here that they're big trees, but I could only see as much of the big tree as my headlights would go. And we drove around again. I could just see God's amazing creation. I've got a picture where I'm in front of what's called the General Sherman tree. And the General Sherman tree, it's off the road, so I couldn't get my headlights on it. And all you can see is me in dark because you can't see the tree. But they say that tree is 2,000 years old. That tree was alive when Jesus walked this earth. See, I had enough conviction. I wanted my son to be able to see the trees, the big trees. And they're really impressive. That I was going to alter my day. I was going to say, let's do it right now. And I'm not going to lie, there were some hairy moments as we drove up the mountains, and there's snow on the roads and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there was some scary moments for the kids. And again, my wife, my wife wasn't saying it at that time. James or Jacob, one of the two, were saying, "Oh, Dad, we need to stop. We need to turn around." And you just can't say that to me because there's something like broken in my head. Because then I go, well, I'm going. If you think this is dangerous, I'm going to keep going because I want to prove to you I'm stronger than the danger of the road. And it's really something that needs to be corrected before something really does go wrong in my life. But that's just my personality. That is my humanity saying that, hey, listen, if you tell me I can't do something, I want to do it to prove you wrong. And that's just me. But the fact of the matter is, we have a God who has given us everything, who lays down his life for us. And honestly, he comes from the position of tremendous power. He comes from heaven, right? Jesus was there when God said, let there be light. He was there. And he leaves that perfection. He leaves that command and becomes a humble baby. I've had people at work who quit because we give them a demotion. We move them to a position of power or authority, and it didn't work out. It was a bad decision, so we have to move them back down or transfer them and say, yeah, it just didn't work out. And it happens, and it's unfortunate. We try everything we can not to have that happen, but it does happen. And a lot of times when people do it, they'll end up quitting because they're saying, I can't go back down. I need that. Can you imagine going from absolute perfection to us and humans to go from I can do whatever I want by thinking it to be limited to that of a baby, of a child, to where mom and dad have to, clean up after me, where I'm gonna to live this full human life with all of its restrictions, and yet I'm still fully God. That's what Jesus did for us. And so as we study what these wise men did in verse 11, when they came to the house, they saw the young child, and again, there's a little more evidence that maybe not a baby, with Mary his mother, and they fell down and worshiped him. They made a change in their life. They obviously altered. So I'm asking you this morning, are you willing to alter your life? Are you willing to make a change so that when you can fall down and worship him? Is there any evidence of the falling down? Is there any evidence in your life of the worship of God? And that's something that I don't want you to do things just because you're like, oh, I want the pastor to know that I did this. No, I want you to look into your heart and say, what are you doing that shows that worship? Are you taking time out of your day to maybe go and visit the nursing homes and play music or shake hands and just be for those people? Are you taking time out of your day to reach out to the local school and see if we can help out? Are you taking time out of your day and not for the intrinsic reason of just trying to be a better person, but because God has called us, and I'm going to do what I can to spread his word to others. I'm going to tell other people about it. Have you changed anything in your life? Have you altered anything? Is there evidence of your passion in your life? See, that's something that you have to ask. That's only in your heart. And so I'm going to have a song coming up here in a minute. If you can listen to it or not, it's completely up to you. But it's from back in the COVID days. I'll see if I can't link this up here. But maybe listen to this song and maybe meditate just a little bit and examine your heart. And as always, if you have any decision you need to make, you don't have to wait. You've got my number is 573-230-1741. You can shoot me a text. You can send me a message or call me. I'd love to talk to you. I'd love to pray with you. And I look so forward to being with my church family next week.